Well, tell me your name.
My name is Phyllis Began.
Phyllis Began. And you live where?
I live in Weston, which is a suburb of Boston.
When we spoke earlier, Phyllis, you mentioned that you bicycled across the United States in 2008.
It's a fabulous, wonderful, awesome experience.
How did that come to be?
I'd always wanted to drive across country. I like the idea, the romance of going from ocean to ocean.
Uh-huh.
And then I started biking, and I thought it would be even better to do it on a bicycle. And then I heard about a group called Women Tours that made a trip just for women over 50. And being a woman over 50, I was extremely intrigued by that, so I called them up.
And how did you come across them? Through...
Another woman told me about it. I was on a bike ride with the Charles River Wheelmen, which is a group outside of Boston.
Yes, it is.
And one of the women told me about Women Tours. So I called
Do they do this on an annual basis?
They do the Southern Tier, which is what I did, every summer.
Okay.
They also do the Northern Tier, which is new. And this summer, they did the first half of the Northern Tier, starting in Washington State and going to Fargo. And then next summer, Fargo to Maine. And I was supposed to be on the trip this summer. But instead, I got rotator cuff surgery.
How did the rotator cuff issue come up?
I fell down some icy stairs because I wasn't paying attention. Well, I reached back to grab the railing and I felt something go.
Yes.
And it was my supraspinatus.
Yeah.
Ring on record. And the trip was March and April. A lot of spinning classes. I took a class at Belmont Wheelworks that was on a regular bike. I biked when I could, but it wasn't as much as I had planned on or as I hoped, because I just didn't want to risk biking on actual ice.
In March, that's pretty early in the year. Where did the ride start?
Started in San Diego. We dipped our tires in the Pacific Ocean. We got into some of the mountains. We had snow.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
biking in the snow, fingers get cold.
Yeah. And then you dropped,
Get cold.
and then you dropped down into the desert, which was also cold.
Yes. But noses get cold. So I had balaclavas and lobster claw gloves, and we were limited to 50 pounds total, including our luggage. So
Good.
it was hard to fit all the stuff we needed to be comfortable in.
That was a good thing, though, because it makes it a little easier to ride when you have less weight.
Yes.
How many women were on the ride?
There were 30 women,
How many women made the whole ride?
everybody.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Single one.
And tell me about the different women that you had mentioned earlier.
Yes, there were some really amazing women. There was a woman who was 68 years old. She was one of the fastest riders in the entire trip.
Yep.
She had lung cancer in January.
Wow.
She had half of her left lung removed in January.
Ouch.
And on March 1st, she was riding on this trip, which was amazing.
Did she smoke?
Never smoked.
Never smoked and she got lung cancer.
Like Dana Reed, non-smoker's
Yeah.
lung cancer. There was a woman who had a stroke and was partially paralyzed. She rode a recumbent three-wheeler. She was not able to bike the whole thing because there were some roads that had, they're like rumble strips at the side of the road.
Yep.
And we could avoid them on two wheels, but she couldn't always avoid them on three
Three.
wheels. So there were some parts of the trip she wasn't able to ride. There was a woman who looked like she should be home baking brownies, which is what she did most of the time. And she was probably she was maybe 40 or 50 pounds overweight and little short curly gray hair. She looked like a grandma. She decided when she retired that she was going to bike across country. She didn't even own a bike. She bought a bike. She started biking 2 miles and then 5 miles, and then she got up to training 80 miles. And this was her first real ride. She was pretty amazing. I said, what made you think you could do this? She said, I just know I can do anything I want to.
How many miles did you ride the first day?
37.
Okay. It's like not a unreasonable amount of miles. Everybody could start.
Yes, but it had more to do with the logistics of where we were staying and the distance between towns
Yep.
than it did with giving people a chance to get started, because we would have shorter days and longer days, just more the logistics of it.
Of like where you ended up at night.
Yes.
Any notable places that just really stick out in your memory? Glad I bicycled through here.
Oh, a lot of them. And again, I wish I could remember the names of them. West Texas was amazing. It was straight out of a cowboy movie. You kept thinking that any time you were going to see the Indians come riding up over the edge there. It was also a place where some great things and horrible things happened. Like I was just riding along and someone threw a beer can at me.
Really?
Just what you would expect of maybe Texas rednecks. On the other hand, there was a day where it was a long ride. It was 60 miles into a town, and you saw nothing for 60 miles. Fields, not even a gas station, nothing.
Yeah.
And you come to this rural Texas town, and there were people standing in the middle of the town with signs and posters saying "Honk for impeachment." This is when Bush was president. It was also a part of Texas where every single place you stopped had mounted trophy heads. You know, you'd stop at the Dairy Joy. You know, there were all kinds of killed animals up there. Walked into the motel we were staying at. There was a stuffed giraffe and a baby. I mean, I was just really...
You ended up hitting the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, where?
St. Augustine, Florida. And we had a police escort.
Really?
And we rode in order from the oldest to the youngest.
Anything else you want to share about the ride?
Is this a documentary? I never got bored. Every day was an amazing adventure. It's astounding the way you notice little things, like from one state to another, from one county to another, the way they did their roads would change. Probably the toughest day, we were riding on something called Texas Chip Seal. They have so many miles and so much road to do that they just have this awful thing where you're like, your bike is shaking, your teeth are chattering, you hope your expensive bike will survive, you hope your fillings don't fall out. And we had such headwinds that day that I actually went faster uphill than downhill. That was intense. I would also say that based on what I saw by the side of the road, that we should invest in Bud Light.
Oh.
Lots of Bud Light cans at the side of the road.
Did it make you think about America in a different way, after having accomplished this coast to coast ride?
It did, because I met a lot of people along the way, and there were really cool and interesting people everywhere.
Yeah.
There were a lot of real jerks everywhere too, but most of the people were wonderful.
So you didn't go to New Orleans?
No.
Okay. So
that I would have remembered. We were near New Orleans because there was one woman on our trip, and when we were near New Orleans, her friends picked her up for that evening and brought her there, and she came home with beignets for the whole crew. And I ate 3. Which you could do. That was a wonderful thing. When you're biking that many miles a day, you pretty much can eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. I like that part of it very
Yeah, for sure. And drink?
I couldn't believe how much the women on this trip drank.
Alcohol?
Yeah, I figured everyone would be real fitness nuts. A lot of the people, including many of the really strongest riders, they'd come in every day and they'd have either 2 beers or 2 glasses of wine.